Welcome one and all to another episode of Lens of Truth, a series breaking down everything Ocarina of Time. We'll be taking a detailed look at the story, dungeons, towns, mini-games, game mechanics, and way more that Ocarina of Time has to offer, so if you're interested in seeing more after this video concludes, do consider subscribing to stay tuned. On our last episode, we covered the dungeon inside of the Great Deku Tree. In today's episode, we'll be covering the events that led our little forest boy Link into meeting with a princess through the Lens of Truth. Having just defeated Queen Goma inside of the Great Deku Tree, we're teleported out to give old Deku the good news. He congratulates us for our efforts and tells us a little bit about this wicked man from the desert that cast this curse on him in the first place. We're told he uses sorceress powers in an endless search for the sacred realm in hopes that he'll be able to get his hands on the Triforce. The Deku Tree describes the Triforce as a divine relic containing the essence of the gods, and then tells us how it came to be. In short, three goddesses created this world together, and upon leaving it to thrive, they gave the world the Triforce placed in the sacred realm in order to inspire and become the basis of the world's providence. Coming out of this story, the Deku Tree tells us that we must never let this desert man enter the sacred realm because the power of the Triforce is what he's after. Then, he goes on to drop this bomb that even before we set out to rid him of the curse set upon him by the desert man, his fate was already sealed. With his power drained and his hero chosen, the Deku Tree tells us that we are Hyrule's final hope. We're told next to visit Hyrule Castle to meet with the princess and show her the Kokiri's Emerald, the spiritual stone of the forest given to us by the Deku Tree. And with his final wish that we set out to save the world from looming evil, the Deku Tree dies. Of course, all the Kokiri and Kokiri Forest are confused and upset by what's happened to their guardian of their home, and none of them are exactly sure what to think about how it went down. Was this meant to happen? Did Link have something to do with the fact that the Great Deku Tree is now dead? Why is he leaving the forest? We've been told before that Kokiri will die upon leaving the forest, so watching Link waltz out without any worry must have been pretty concerning for them. For all of them but one. As we're crossing the bridge out of Kokiri Forest, we're paid a surprise visit by our good friend Saria. She tells us that she always knew that we were different from the rest of the Kokiri, but she also tells us that our leaving of the forest does not end our friendship. In an effort to ensure Link does not forget about her, she gives him a wooden ocarina to remember her by. And without any words left to say, Link leaves knowing the quest ahead of him can't afford to wait. Welcome one and all to Hyrule Field. This area is the middle road between all of the different regions we'll be visiting in Ocarina of Time, and it's quite a pleasant place to be. Straight out of the forest, we have a sign pointing us towards where Hyrule Castle Town is, and without any further ado, we set out on the path that'll take us there. Actually, before we can do that, there is further ado. Before we can follow our path of adventure, an owl named Keporigebora stops us and makes sure that we're ready for our adventure after all. They tell us that this will be no easy venture, and that if we're ever lost, we can just look at our map. On the map, there will always be a glowing point of interest serving as our next objective to progress, and right now, of course, that's Hyrule Castle. Now we set off on our path, and just as we catch a glimpse of the castle town's drawbridge, the day turns to night. The drawbridge is raised, the wolves are howling, and all of a sudden, there are Stal children coming out of the ground and surrounding us. We fight them off until morning comes, and without skipping a beat, we run straight across the bridge into the town. Hyrule Castle Town is a treat, truly, and while I would normally go over it in great detail as I did the Kokiri Forest in the first episode of this series, I actually already did a while back before I even started this series. If you'd like to check that video out, you can find it by either clicking this annotation at the top corner of your screen, or by looking down into the description for the link, no pun intended. One thing you should know about Hyrule Castle Town before we venture any further towards the castle is that this little girl standing beside the fountain tells you that her dad, the owner of Lon Lon Ranch, went to the castle to deliver some milk, but hasn't come back yet. Perhaps we'll find him on our journey into the castle. When we walk from the town to the castle gate, we're greeted by our owl friend once again, and this time they tell us about the day-night cycle and how it functions within this game. Basically, time stands still everywhere in this game except for Hyrule Field and Hyrule Castle. In these two places, time will flow from day to night and night to day as you run around within them. To move on from here will be a little difficult, because the thing is, the guards aren't just going to let in some little boy looking to speak with the princess without having been summoned first. But we do need to get in there, so we're gonna have to get a little crafty in the next episode of Lens of Truth. Thanks for watching this entry of my Lens of Truth series. I know it's a little shorter than the previous ones have been, and I don't intend for that to be the case moving forward by any means. I just didn't have as much time as I normally do this last week to put the video together. Next week, I'll come back to you with everything that happens behind the castle walls and more, so stay tuned by subscribing to the channel and turning on the notifications if you'd like to see it. On screen now, you'll have that little video covering Hyrule Castle Town I mentioned earlier, as well as the playlist holding the entire Lens of Truth series so far in case you wanted to see everything we've covered up until now. But until next Friday, that's my time. My name's Myloe, and I'm out.